Hey friends, welcome back to new episode of openBIMvoice. Today I have the pleasure to talk to Janis Berkis. Thank you so much, Janis, for joining me. How are you doing today?
Hi, Petro. I'm fine, really. Thank you.
Thanks for accepting my invitation. And let's not make these people wait and let's introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm Janis, as you already said. I am from Latvia. I manage a BIM consultancy firm. So we are actually this month, I own this consultancy already for over 12 years. So it's quite a
Congrats.
long time. But when I speak to some clients, just recently I spoke with one client and he was just really surprised. Well, 12 years. I mean, I thought BIM was here around, a couple of years maybe. So it's still the education process is something that we're doing every day. So mainly we as I said, our services are related specifically to BIM. So it's either working with clients and helping them to acquire uh, something from BIM or other technologies on their projects, or
Mhm.
it's helping suppliers to deliver according to set requirements. So yeah, we're working on projects both locally and also in other different countries. So we see growing interest in infrastructure projects, and well, still the interest in buildings is high, and last year in Latvia, BIM became mandatory, so it's also driving some sort of demand. But as I said, for many clients, still in 2026, BIM is something new. So it's again like explaining the same basics as 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's both encouraging and worrying. But the most important thing is that we start to get more and more mandates for this, which are kind of making people actually start looking into this. But yeah, like there is always going to be, or at least, yeah, there is still going to be a lot of new people to this um, concept. And now ISO 9650 is going to make a new impact on that. Let's see how much. But I hope it won't take as long as before. I hope more people get exposed now and it becomes quicker.
Hope
But
so.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned something interesting. When you say that on infrastructure, it starts to become more relevant.
Mm.
Are we talking about now just BIM or open BIM? What exactly do we see there?
I would say it's definitely open BIM, especially for public projects, but it really depends on the client and their requirements. So we have worked in several countries, for example, in UAE. You're just the client says, I don't care about open BIM or anything. You just work in Revit and Navisworks. That's it. IFC, what is it? We don't care. I hope it's changing, and I know great people from UAE as well that are pushing for open BIM. But as I said, it's still kind of you need to educate the clients about the benefits and why it's really necessary. Even here in such a small country as Latvia, it's not. There are, I would say, for example, big designers that would say that no, we need everyone to work in Revit. We don't care about anything else. And but yeah, it's. I mean, it's becoming a common practice to request open models. So IFC format using different tools that support these formats and procedures. Yeah, and infrastructure. Well, we have this huge project called Rail Baltica, which links. It's a railway linking three Baltic states to the Europe, and this is, I mean, the primary driver for using open BIM in infrastructure here in Latvia.
Okay, so that's interesting. This is a huge project, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a few more details about this?
Yeah, so it's uh, from the history. So it's I would say the first big, or even the first infrastructure project in our region that requested BIM, and then it was also this open BIM was pushed there that it's mandatory. If you are using requesting BIM, then you should align to the open BIM's procedures. And yeah, the thing was that in infrastructure market, basically no companies had experience, and what they did was kind of a good thing, that they the requirements were that international companies should come in and train locals, and that meant that well, our people get educated by all these processes. But I would say that I mean, looking at the process now, there were many mistakes made, also including the openBIM principles and all that, because back then, you know, there wasn't any IFC4 or version 4, and it was just we tried to use what's available, and for infrastructure it wasn't always great. But now things are, I would say, are improving, but still, I would say, because of those previous standards and principles, there is a lot of like negative outlook on this. How actually BIM, is it really necessary for infrastructure projects? Can it really help? So I'm usually trying to push this idea that that you should start step by step in introducing BIM or openBIM principles in projects, and not trying to ask some really sophisticated things right from the start, because this is their scenario, and there is so much kind of wasted time and wasted information that's created and not used. So that's maybe the darker side of this.
I understand. That makes sense. Do you see any, like when it comes to requirements, I think this is one of the most important aspect of this, of openBIM to get adopted. Kind of, I'm still to hear many stories about companies implementing openBIM without being mandated to, being demanded to by the clients, right? So because that's kind of the most common situation when we rely on clients establishing openBIM. What can you tell me? Like, do you see any progress on that front? Do you see more clients, and especially where, that are investing in educating their staff and making their requirements more openBIM oriented?
Well, the market is still, of course, growing. I mean, as I said, that you might think that, you know, in our bubble that everyone understands and knows what is openBIM or BIM itself, but in reality is that I would say probably, I don't know, 80-90% of the market maybe is aware, but it's they are not you know, using the openBIM principles, etc. So there is still a lot of possibilities to grow. I mean, there is difference, of course, between the project scale. I mean, the larger the project, the more probably you will see some sophisticated or complex BIM requirements, information requirements, but not the case for the middle and the lower part as well. I mean, I built my house using, you know, BIM and openBIM principles, and I saw the benefits there definitely. But you know, in reality, I'm probably the only one, or maybe a few more, that use this information management for such a small scale. But anyway, I see that there is still progress, especially here in Latvia, since BIM was mandated last year. You know, it's more and more clients are getting on board, but as I said, from the like information requirement perspective, there is a lot of things that have gone wrong in terms of asking too much, which has introduced
a common mistake.
Too much sophistication, too much big expenses, and actually, you know, low or no actually return on investment. So from my perspective, this is something that I'm working on and trying to change it now, working with clients as well, that I need to, first of all, tell them that BIM is not bad, or openBIM is okay, but you know, you need to maybe scale a bit down, start from some basics, and then from there understand what works for you and not, and then maybe add something more. Yeah,
makes sense. I had a similar discussion recently that's going to be published soon, and the conclusion kind of gets the same. This is one of actually the problems because it becomes the threshold to meet for the designers becomes way too high, and then the gap becomes like a huge impossible. And also the value provided by these things is not as important at the moment of designing things. So it's important, maybe this information becomes more important, but after the project is delivered, maybe 5 years after that. So it doesn't serve anyone, right? So it's more important to agree on what are the must-have requirements on every project. And I think like it starts with common sense, like classifications, like quantities, like all these kind of things that everyone needs to use. If you don't have those, kind of you don't use BIM. So, and after that, start with what is more, with on top of that, right? And also, I think most of the time we put the wrong people to do this kind of jobs. Like how a designer is going to know what is going to need a facility manager 5 years later or something like that on a specific process or something. Somebody, I think it was Thomas Willner, said that they are doing this and they are making available like a database that everyone can contribute to the process with their own knowledge and their own skills, and then you make it different. But again, like if you go back to what you were saying, I think it's extremely important. The simplification, it's important because unfortunately, most of the time, I don't want to, like, I think some people are going to take this personal, but some people are making this huge list, which even their own are not able to deliver on. And that's what's like, there is somebody who has to gain something from this. Yes, there are consultants who are billing hours. So I don't want to say that this is a conspiracy, but I think for sure simplifying everything should be a good starting point. Agreeing on what's important to have, what is the minimum critical information that we need, that most stakeholders on a project need, and then try to deliver that. No excuses, right? Because right now we have like this huge 50 lines, 50 property sets, 50 property sets, which with a lot of information that most people are not using or almost never using it, right? Or most people even not opening these models, and takes a lot of time and they end up costing a lot, right? And it's not good. So I agree, like that's definitely a good approach. So I'm going to try to work more educating on that front right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to
Yeah.
add something?
And maybe like first thing now is that what I see is that for the clients that are introducing BIM for the first time, I really ask them the question whether actually you really need BIM for facility management, for maintenance. Because as I see it, you have this wonderful, you can do wonderful things during the design process, like improve the solutions, find different
Yeah.
problems, issues, and make basically the quality of the design much better and reduce some major risks during construction.
Yeah.
But as for the maintenance part, many think that we want to use something, but they don't realize that you need it will first of all introduce some major additional costs usually.
Yeah.
Because you need specialists for basically on every side, on clients, on contractors, maybe on designers side, and it's a very kind of serious process. So maybe it's not very popular, but what I'm saying is that usually I try to convince clients not to require BIM for
Facility management.
as
Yeah.
facility management for their first project. I said try to feel that, because you can also involve your asset managers during the design phase, and they can say what's important for them during that. But it doesn't mean you always need to do something during construction. Then what you mentioned regarding the attributes as well, the property sets, this is also something that I've worked on, that we have now developed, I don't know, like what is it, 5-7 attributes that are mandatory in the models, and the idea is that they support I think 3 main use cases, so that you are able to identify an object, you can use the model to create drawings, to extract quantities, and to do BIM coordination. So like 7 attributes to have these BIM uses, which I know are beneficial both
Yeah.
for
For
tiny
everyone. Yeah.
for everyone, for tiny properties, for large properties. And then, of course, if you want, then you can discuss something else, but you need to have a huge,
That should be
a good
separate.
reason.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Yeah.
And then what
That
I
sounds
see is
good.
that some also public clients are also seeing what we are doing and thinking that maybe it's a good idea, because sometimes the designers as well, they look at these sophisticated requirements and they decide, I mean, we are not going into this project. It just we
It's too
usually
too
lose.
daunting. Too daunting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
exactly.
understand. Yeah, I think a separation of concerns is not going to be bad, and consider like, yeah, gather, yeah, maybe to be done after that. And like having focusing on the like the timing of the project is extremely important. So maybe this information can just put it in by the participants, or like by the clients, representatives, or people who
Mm,
work with facility management. They don't even need the
mm,
design team, right? Why?
yeah,
If it's information that they understand better, why have back and forth and waste resources? That's what's going to end up being, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, I understand. Sorry. The B mandate in Latvia. You said, uh, can you give me a few details about this? Like, which kind of projects does this mandate aims for?
Mm.
Like, it's for all the projects, or are there criteria, or what are you talking about?
Now, this is a public clients. We have these categories for buildings. So it's the category basically for public buildings. Public buildings, also new construction, and only buildings, not infrastructure. But I mean, the mandate comes from our Ministry of Economics, and basically they wrote like two sentences, and as we all know, that's not a good thing. And now I see so many tenders where public clients are just making huge mistakes because, I mean, either they write actually in two sentences that well, deliver LOD 300 models and that's it, or I see some requirements which are, just driving the costs of BIM way
Very
up.
high.
Yeah, I just recently reviewed the one tender where it's a tiny building, a sports hall for a tiny municipality, but the BIM requirements, they would cost like enormous amount of money, more than
To
maybe
produce.
the, yeah, more than, I don't know, part of the construction costs, so unreasonable.
Mm.
So this is something that it's the dark side when you kind of don't set proper requirements by knowledgeable people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. They play an important role. Um, when it comes to this, are there any specific public clients which are becoming good at enforcing BIM mandates and starting to have decent requirements on their projects? Or like, because like I know, like, in Norway there were like a specific amount of specific departments which started, and so on. Like, is there anyone like who you think is doing like kind of the right approach and doing it quicker than others?
Well, there are a couple of public clients, which are usually the biggest ones, that are, well, they have, since they have many projects, they can test things, learn things. I would say maybe they learn too slow because they should already understand that some things maybe are not working that well, and some things need to be changed. So I see progress, but it's not that fast. But yeah, of course, I mean, the biggest ones, as I said, for Rail Baltica, it's also a public client, so they are also uh, changing something, improving something, maybe not, as I said, not as fast as necessary. And what I see is, it's interesting what I see from public clients. You see like two approaches. One is that a public client is kind of very rigid. They set requirements and they kind of focus on that you've
You
fulfilled
have to
them,
deliver that.
yeah, even if they're not working. And the other part is that see, maybe it boils down to project managers. Probably they see that something's not working and they maybe figure out that maybe you can adjust something. This is in my opinion, a good approach, a better approach, that you're elastic, because as much as you would like, it's not possible to set everything right from the beginning, and
For
some
sure.
things will work, some things will not, and you need to have that elastic approach that you change to you agree with the
Hmm.
suppliers that maybe they change something or improve something, so it's better for everyone. So yeah, and I see both of these approaches, and projects with these rigid approaches, they're usually struggling really, really badly, like delays and low satisfaction, etc. Also, the results are not great.
I understand. If we look, can you give me any names, like for example, like a railway administration or like some specific departments which are at least have clear requirements, or they are on this journey on? I think because I'm sure if you are mentioning that this mandate is also quite new, like it always takes time. It's not like everyone is going to implement it immediately. Are there any parts of the administration that are doing a better job than the other?
As I said, there are, I mean, the RB Rail, which is implementing Rail Baltica, they are one of the most experienced. And then there is this state property holder, which owns the most properties as a state in Latvia. And they have been using BIM, requesting BIM for almost 5-6 years. So they have also reasonable experience. And as for requirements, I'm involved, but it's a very slow process. We are kind of trying to define some local requirements, like standard, that can be used as a template for the public clients. But it's not a very fast process. There are a lot of arguments. Many people are frustrated with different things, so it's not going. So that's why I see that there are two approaches: either the public clients copy, so the standards usually from the state property holder, which are usually too complex for most of the projects, and then some decide to maybe develop something on their own. Usually, I mean, for example, we as consultants, we work with clients to help them to develop some requirements. Yeah. So this is what's the situation usually.
Okay. Now let's focus a bit on the positive side. What you can tell me about some good use cases for that you see IFC models being employed for in the projects you are working in.
I talked about the basics, so using the models for evaluating the design, to finding issues early. I think these are the fundamentals that can bring huge value to projects. So we've been involved in project where the only thing that the team is not very experienced, but they can all of them develop models, so design models, and at set milestones, so let's say 3 or 4 times during design, a team gathers together from, in that case, it was from the whole world. So there's a Teams meeting, and one of our guys just walks through the building. There are specialists from different, so the client, the contractor, they sit together and just review the design in 3D. And they comment from their own perspective. So the maintenance guys would say, this is not comfortable for us, change the placement of the equipment. Contractor would say, this is too hard to build, we need to change something, and so on. So I think this is a huge value for projects. That's what we are also trying to. It's not always easy to involve as many of these professionals in using those or viewing these models, but it has its huge benefit. And what I see is, it solves both mistakes, but also improves the kind of design itself. And when the building is built, you have less like complaints that this is something that we didn't expect. We wanted something different because they already walked through the building. So these are kind of, as I said, the basic things. Then I always say that it's important, if you have BIM on your project, you're doing coordination, the information, the core information like drawings and quantities should come from the models. If that's not the case, there's high probability that there are going to be mistakes. So you have done all the great coordination, clashes or whatever is resolved, but then it turns out that the drawings do not align with models, and you just wasted everyone's time by this process. So And if these things, the same applies to quantity as well. I mean, it doesn't, even if there are models in your project, it doesn't mean that the teams are experienced enough to extract proper quantities from models, which are then given to estimators to estimate. We've seen, even in big projects, that there's some weird process where just usually either the drawings are just given to an estimator or some partial information, and it's basically they make mistakes, and these mistakes usually are very, very costly. So as I said, these basic things, if they are right in a project, usually we see very, very good successful results. So the client is more happier with better solutions. There are less questions or less stress during construction, because there are less even no major problems during construction and so on.
Makes sense. That's good.
Yeah.
What do you see, like, are there any specific advantages that you see for all these things you mentioned here could be done also in a proprietary environment?
Yeah.
Do you see any specific benefits of actually using and going for openBIM instead of sticking into Autodesk or Bentley or another closed environment? Have you witnessed, like, across your career being in projects and so on, do you have some specific situations where you realize, okay, it's good that we use openBIM, otherwise this would have been difficult, or is not really necessary?
Yeah. I mean, I always say that there is no single perfect tool for everything. And especially with for design, there are very different tools, and we see that for example, for structural part, there would be one tool for architecture, other for MEP, others, and the IFC and openBIM is something that allows you to use the best tool, and then combine the information so that everyone can use it. As I said, we had this project in UAE, and we were forced to use Navisworks for coordination purposes. But we are using Solibri every day, and we have our
Workflows,
workflows,
routines.
etc. And basically, we need to reduce the quality of our work just to
Meet the requirements of a project,
exactly,
also.
yeah. And that's not a good kind of approach. That's why what I see is that where openBIM really helps. And then, of course, with all the tools, both free and also not free, that allow to view the models. For example, like the CDEs, which allow to combine the models together, and it's really easy. I see that it gives benefits to the clients, which understand, okay, cool, I can just, I don't need to install anything. I can just open the models there, view them, work with them, communicate with, the BCF workflow as well. It makes them, I can create a screenshot with an issue, send to someone, and it's not going to disappear somewhere in emails and WhatsApp. So these are things that I just had very recently a really big project where the main designer was used to, so the main architect was used to working in this closed environment, so proprietary, everything in Revit, and then I think one or two disciplines didn't work with Revit, and they had some basically huge issues to they needed to change their workflows, etc. But as I see, it's it's now it's starting to work. It's much beneficial for the project, and also more people can get involved. So the openBIM allows more professionals, contractors use that. They don't need to buy Revit or Navisworks. They can use the IFC to extract quantities, to make some other assumptions, etc. So it's definitely an improvement. I don't say IFC is a perfect format or perfect openBIM is a perfect kind of workflow, but I mean it's it allows more people to get involved, so that is important.
I understand, makes sense. What do you think about from the point of view of storing the information for a client? Now, I'm talking
Mm.
about a public. Let's take public client, right? Because they are the ones who have to manage and yeah, assets over 50 years or 100 years, right? What do you think about that? Do you see any advantages of storing these models in IFC instead of a specific platform?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, for example, regarding the same Revit versions, etc., which change every year, and every year when you open a Revit model, it somehow breaks, and so yeah, there is benefit. And I remember I talked with you some time ago, and I like that approach where basically you are doing, I would say, more the geometric part in the native, so the closed environment, and then the information part can be done outside of that, which I think is not. It's a quite a good approach. And yeah, so as I said, you can open an IFC model from 10 years ago, and it's still you can use it. I mean, of course, I don't know what's going to happen in another 10 years. And now with all the AI tools, you can also learn to easily, at least the information part, edit it in IFC, so you don't need rocket science to solve this. So there is definitely there. And plus, of course, the ability to migrate between different solutions and platforms. So it's more likely that you're going to be
Gives you
able
the
to,
flexibility, yeah, to do that.
yeah, you don't need to stick specifically to one platform that uses only
Mhm,
some specific format, but you can migrate from
mhm.
different tools and different platforms. Yeah.
Sure. We touched a few of the challenges that we might encounter when implementing openBIM, and we mentioned having way too many properties and all these things. Uh, are there any other challenges that you see on top of the ones that we mentioned and we discussed about?
Sure. I mean, still there are differences between how different tools, platforms read IFCs. So you might be surprised. We have had some comments like, we don't see some elements in the model. Like, wait a minute. I mean, we see in our, for example, in Solibri, we see those elements, and then there in some environment, they don't see them. So there are still these issues there. Uh, and it's still sometimes a struggle to get the information in the right structure out of the native tools, uh, and, and uh, and because there are so many tools, you can't know every possible problem that's going on there. I mean, people are good, and you have tons of resources for Revit, but some other tools might not have all the necessary information on how to extract that information for that purpose. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes there are some very specific client requirements that are very hard to meet with kind of these softwares.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is then of course the issue is still with some of the coordinate exports. It's still a nightmare in 2026 that
Georeferencing, yeah, if you don't use Bonsai, it's a pain. It's a big pain. Yeah.
and it's just every time there are issues with this starting a project to getting everyone in line with
Yeah,
this.
yeah, it wastes a lot of time. Okay, yeah, I agree. I agree. I still see that a lot. Mm,
Yeah, so these are, yeah, some of the common things. Yeah.
mm. Um, what would you say to somebody, let's say like somebody is interested in openBIM and would like to learn, I don't know, maybe to get even a job in this, like is openBIM the way to go, and what would you recommend them to learn? How should they learn and what exactly?
Mm, good question. Well, definitely you should learn about it. What would I recommend? Um, I wouldn't recommend reading ISO 1960 650 first, because it's just too complex. But uh, yeah, maybe. I mean, as I said, you should start from the basics, just understanding, how to export, how to combine this information. You have tons of really good free tools available in the market. you have like the openIFC viewer and stuff like that, where you can start playing around, understanding how it works, and do not necessarily need to start with some very complex things. But you need to understand that you don't always necessarily, you need to understand, I always say that it's really project or people specific. You need to understand what problem are you solving when you're trying to introduce something new like openBIM. So is the problem that you are not able to participate in some projects and are losing money because of this? So that's the problem you're trying to solve. Or maybe if you think that openBIM is something cool and you just want to learn, that's a different thing. So that I would always approach from this. So it might be that in your environment you don't really need anything like that, and you can stick in your, for example, if you're doing small design and you are like an architect and you don't have any partners that actually are able to create models at all. So why bother sophisticating your life? I mean, you can use some other maybe native tools that do the same things. So I would approach it from that perspective. When you understand your problem, you try to figure out what you need to learn, what solutions can you. It might be a course, it might be introducing new tools, it might be something else, some processes, changing some processes. So it really depends.
I see. And let's close with this. What do you think should we do? Like, what's one simple thing that we should try to do to speed up the adoption of openBIM?
I think like the basic thing, show the benefits to more people, but in like a simple way that I mean, you don't need rocket science to learn how to view a model, an IFC model, for example. It really is really kind of easy, and try to get involve more people. The more people you involve, and you get more feedback, and probably the result is going to be better. So don't overcomplicate things. Start with the basics, just by, for example, allowing more people to work with the information, at least, for example, the graphical information, not maybe the data. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, we forgot to mention that one of the challenges that I still see when it comes to IFC is the fact that it's very difficult to break the barrier, which is stopping at geometry, visual stuff, and not data. I still see that this is a symptom in our industry that we didn't really wrap around the concept of data or of other information than geometry or over geometry in these models. They are most of the time focusing on geometry. But yeah, we have many issues to solve, many things to work to improve. But I like your approach, your agile way to look at things, and pragmatic way as well, because I think that's the way to go about this. We have to start with the things that work and then try to push for more. It doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, we are just setting ourselves for failure. And yeah, it's just how it is. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this chat, Yanis, or Janis. Yanis, I think it's Yanis, right?
Latvian, yeah, it's Janis, yes.
Yanis, yeah. I really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed as well. And
Likewise, yeah.
yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And yeah, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Bye, Petro.